yet again and again and again, Israel, put out their hand for peace, and they received death from the other side, and suicide bombers and attacks and terrorists. And then I think there was a huge awakening on the 7th of October. Not everybody, but a lot of people, and also speaking about Jewish identity, if Jews, a lot of the secular Jews, saw themselves as people of the world. They didn't see themselves as Jews first. They maybe were Israelis, maybe Jewish, but they saw themselves as people of the world. Yet the 7th of October and the reaction of the world to the 7th of October that wasn't pro-Israel showed them that maybe they're not citizens of the world. Maybe they're Jews first. And that's a huge thing that's waking up inside a lot of secular Jews today. Now, Israel is a democracy. There will be many views here, and it's good. Israel should always be a democracy and always allow other voices, even if those voices are not, just harmful to Israel. That's just the case, and that will always be the case in a democracy. Yet, the gear today is in the hands of a government that does believe that we have the right to this land. But they're still not focusing on the international arena at all. So the fault lies, in my opinion, let's look at how beautifully the attack on Iran was conducted, yet it was not backed at all with social media presence or any tactics on that area. I mean, and it can be done, but that is completely left aside, and that is on the government, not on the people that are calling against Israel or Israelis that are anti-Israel. And I'll pass it on to somebody else because I've really hugged the mic. Sorry.
No. That's fine. Hog away. Vitor.
Yeah, I want to say something here. So I want to dismantle urban legend that they say Jews are in charge of everything. So there is this whole myth that Jews are in charge of the stock market. Jews are in charge of the media. Jews are even in charge of something called adult content. That I don't know what it is because I'm too much of an innocent person, but maybe you can help me with that. Basically, Jews control the whole planet and maybe the whole galaxy. But if that's the case, how come we are winning the war? If we are in control, if we dictate the rules, if we tell what to do, and if we are, telling this is the direction, this is what to want to achieve, how come we keep failing? If we are in charge, we shouldn't fail. I mean, we could fail from time to time, but it seems that Jews have been controlling the media for decades, at least since I remember. I think even in my childhood, there was already this thing that Jews are going to tell you what's going on in the road, and if you disobey, there will be an issue because you need to say yes, sir. And then there is also this thing that people are sure that Jews are in control because they dig on the on the organization's board, and there is a name that resembles a Jewish surname. So if it's finished in Berg, it must be Jewish, and sometimes it's just German. It must be Jew and evil, not only Jew. If it's Jew, it's evil, and it's preparing us for the worst. So I think people should reflect because there's some sort of paradox of being in charge and continuously losing. So how can we go about telling individuals and the masses in this case, because this is a global issue. It's not about individuals here and there, that Jews are not in charge. And if they were, they shouldn't be humiliated by the media. Do you have any strategy, any approach that you would like to share? Maybe Rafael?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to disagree with you. It's indeed true that some Jewish newspapers are Jewish-owned and evil. Look at Haaretz, for example. So, I can also think of the New York Times. So it's just not the kind of evil Jews that the anti-Semites think they are, but there are evil Jewish newspapers, and we all suffer a lot because of them. I have often said that Haaretz for Hamas is worth more than an entire battalion of Nukba fighters, because it basically demoralizes Israelis and riles the West against the Jewish state. Now, this question is not so much about Hasbara, but about anti-Semitism. And I have to say that, the anti-Semite is not really receptive to logical arguments, because he's not looking for reasons not to hate Jews. He's looking for reasons to hate Jews. So whatever information, true or false, will be framed and absorbed in a way that confirms what he sets out to believe in the first place. And you can laugh about it. I think that humor is a beautiful Jewish weapon that the Jewish people developed precisely in order to cope with so much hatred, because it's much harder to hate people that make you laugh. So, for example, there was this movie, Don't Mess with Zohar. I think that was wonderful, like Hasbara. But ultimately, all this fear of Jews comes because, objectively speaking, Jews are very peculiar people. You can say it's special, you can say strange, peculiar, but it's different for many historical, religious, sociological, and other reasons. And since in both in Christianity and in Islam, we have this idea of the devil that is both visible and invisible, both weak and almighty, both tempting and seductive. Uh, the Jewish people, in a way, are very easily associated with something scheming, shady, dangerous, similar to the devil. And in the Muslim world, it's even more so, because if the weak and punny Yahud are able to defeat all Muslim armies, either Allah is on their side or the Shaitan is on their side. And if you're a devout Muslim, what are you happier to believe? So, I mean, I think that if anyone gets the formula to heal anti-Semitism, I really think that both the Israel Prize and the Nobel Peace Prize are far too little for this achievement.
There is a comment here from Neshika that I would like to bring to the table, and maybe Virak, since you are based in the States, I think you'll be the right person to comment. So Neshika is saying Zohan, not Zohar. He is the guy running for the New York majority. Lol.
It could be a slogan from Zohar to Zohan. What happened to New York City in 30 years?
That's definitely a good one. Look, on anti-Semitism, I just want to chip in on something that I try to emphasize, that there are different types of anti-Semitism. There is the one that comes from ignorance, which, for example, I think is generally a thing in Eastern Europe. That comes from the stereotypes, Jews rule the world, but it manifests themselves in verbal abuse towards the Jewish communities and Jewish jokes. And I'm not trying to minimize that, but that is something you can change. And I think eventually, as the time passes, we can educate people on that false narrative that they grow up with. And when you come to Eastern Europe, it has a lot of reason why anti-Semitism exists even after the Shoah in Eastern European, post-Soviet, post-communist countries. So we don't have the time to go into that many people don't understand the nuances there. But the most dangerous form of anti-Semitism is the one that's ideologically driven, because that you can't change. That's literally being indoctrinated into people right now. That is what you see in the US, and that comes from the Muslim world. That comes with that education that they are instilling in Columbia and Harvard and you name it. This is why they were so, reluctant to even hear the facts. And what happened on October 7th, according to this group of people, was done by Israel itself. So it's not like, anti-Semitism is only manifesting itself in like Jews rule the world. No, they legit believe that Israel committed October 7th, so then they can fight in Gaza. So in order to believe that, I think it's almost beyond the level of hatred. You really need to turn off your cognitive, checks and balances and go with that thought.